Welcome back to Their Voice Matters. This episode brings together major developments from 2025 and several ongoing cases I've previously covered. These are update segments only, not full case timelines, and references to the original episodes are included in the description or show notes. First are the updates in the case of Emily Pike, who ran away from a group home in January 2025 and whose remains were found several weeks later more than 100 miles from where she was last seen. On June 30th, 2025, Emily Pike's official cause of death was revealed: homicidal violence with blunt head trauma. The autopsy was conducted by the Pinal County Medical Examiner, who partners with Gila County in these cases. Dr. Rebecca Shue, who is the former chief medical examiner for Pinal County, explained in an interview that the phrase homicidal violence is often used when a case involves significant trauma, especially when the body is incomplete or dismembered, as is the case with Emily. She said, quote, "Beating someone, bludgeoning someone potentially to death is a much more violent type of way of killing someone. When they say homicidal violence, especially in cases where the body may not be intact, it can be very difficult to really determine. It does take months to do an appropriate workup, especially if a body has been dismembered. That technically is some sharp force trauma, but was this something that happened post-mortem or ante-mortem? Those things take a little while to try to figure out." At this time, the full medical examiner's report has not been released. The Gila County Sheriff's Office has shared that they have served several search warrants in connection to Emily's case. This includes a residential structure, a vehicle, and a storage trailer. Items from those searches have been sent for forensic analysis, and they've also interviewed a person of interest. But investigators have said they currently do not consider that person a suspect. Some digital evidence has also reportedly been collected for analysis, but no further details have been made public yet. Body cam footage from September 20th, 2023 has also been released. In the footage, officers are seen speaking with Emily after she ran away from her group home. She was visibly distressed and told police, quote, "I just want to see my mom. I'm not going to that fucking group home. I hate it there." She also told them that she would rather stay with her grandma than go back to the group home, and that no one understands her or is going to help her.
Emily, can you please stop for me so I can talk to you?
No, I don't want to go back.
I know. Let's talk, okay?
No.
It's okay. Hey.
My mom.
Hey, it's okay. You're not in trouble, okay?
I want to see my mom.
We'll call your mom, okay?
No.
It's okay. Well, tell us what's going on.
Let me go.
Tell us what's going on.
I want to stay with my grandma instead.
Despite her emotional state, officers were eventually able to get her in the police car and take her back to her group home. The footage is incredibly difficult to watch. We can hear the pain in her voice, and it gives us a heartbreaking look into Emily's mental and emotional state just 16 months before her death. The reward for information leading to an arrest in Emily's case has been increased to $200,000, thanks to contributions from Silent Witness, the Arizona Department of Public Safety, Gila County, and the San Carlos Apache Tribe. If you have any information about who may have killed Emily, please call 480-WITNESS or submit a tip at silentwitness.org. There have been major developments in the case of Emily Pike, the 14-year-old girl whose heartbreaking story has left many of us searching for answers. No arrests have been made, and her killer is still out there. Arizona lawmakers are now pushing for immediate change in the Department of Child Safety, or DCS, not just in response to Emily's case, but also after the murders of two other young girls, 16-year-old Zariah Dodd and 10-year-old Rebecca Baptiste. Both had been involved with DCS, either while in the system or through prior investigations into their family. Following a series of urgent meetings between lawmakers, DCS officials, tribal leaders, child advocates, and victims' families, the department has agreed to implement several changes. Some of the planned improvements are clearer rules for how and when group homes must notify law enforcement if a child runs away, ensuring law enforcement knows the location of group homes so response times aren't delayed, and the creation of a standardized face sheet, a one-page summary containing the child's photo, vital information, risk factors, and key contacts. This is meant to give law enforcement everything they need up front to act quickly if a child in state care goes missing. State Senator Corrine Werner called the changes, quote, "a step in the right direction," but emphasized that more must be done. She said, quote, "Arizona's children deserve a system that responds quickly, communicates clearly, and puts their safety first. I'll continue working with stakeholders and holding DCS accountable until we create a system that truly protects kids. I'm especially grateful to the families, tribal leaders, and law enforcement officials who continue raising their voices. Their input is driving real change, and together we can make it last." While lawmakers and advocates push for systemic changes, Emily's family is also seeking justice in court. The company that operated the group home that Emily ran away from. The lawsuit accuses the group home of negligence and negligent hiring and retention. It also states, quote, "At all relevant times, defendant Sacred Journey, Inc. knew or should have known that defendants John and Jane Doe employees 1 through 5 each was an inexperienced, reckless, and negligent employee." It was reported that although the group home did alert police when Emily ran away in January, they failed to notify DCS, which they were required to do. There's a dedicated hotline for reporting incidents just like this, and it reportedly wasn't used. Olivia Lamoraco from the law firm representing Jensen Pike said, quote, "So that leads us to believe what else was not followed when Emily's crying and asking for help at that group home. Is she given help? Is anybody there to give her basic needs and wants? And that's to be determined." At this point, Sacred Journey has not yet responded to the lawsuit. However, in a prior statement after Emily's disappearance and death, the organization's CEO said, quote, "We go above and beyond. We're raising children, not just housing them. We're parenting children. I'm going to take the time and energy to make sure that child is wrapped in services." As the legal process unfolds, and DCS faces growing pressure to reform, Emily's case remains active and unsolved. The group home where Emily Pike ran away from has officially responded to the lawsuit filed by her father, and their defense is raising eyebrows. They're blaming nearly everyone for Emily's death, except themselves. In September 2025, Emily's father, Jensen Pike, who is currently incarcerated but could be released before the end of the year, filed a civil lawsuit against Sacred Journey, Inc., the operator of the group home Emily ran away from. The lawsuit alleges that Sacred Journey was negligent, that they failed to properly protect, supervise, and care for Emily, which they allege caused Emily to run away, and, knowing she had run away before, allegedly failed to properly monitor her. It also claims the group home didn't follow proper reporting procedures, and that its staff, hiring, and retention practices were inadequate. The lawsuit seeks damages, including funeral and burial expenses. While it's been reported that the family received at least $5,000 from the San Carlos Apache tribe to help cover the cost of Emily's memorial, the average cost of a funeral and burial in Arizona is closer to $7,500, meaning the family likely had to cover the difference themselves. In their response, Sacred Journey denies nearly all of the lawsuit's claims. They state their actions were reasonable, that they met the standard of care, and that nothing they did caused Emily's death. They also argue that because Emily left the facility voluntarily, and because it was a non-secure group home, they had no legal obligation to prevent her from leaving. What's more striking is how many people and entities Sacred Journey is blaming in their filing. Emily Pike herself. The response states, quote, "Emily was a 14-year-old girl who intentionally and voluntarily left Sacred Journey's residential house, which was a non-secure residential group home, and the residents were placed there voluntarily. Emily left the group home of her own free will. Emily's parents, Jensen Pike and Stephanie Dossala." The response reads, quote, "Emily's parents were unfit, unresponsive, and neglectful parents requiring the San Carlos Apache tribe to take control and assume the responsibilities for Emily's care and well-being. The San Carlos Apache tribe and their children's court," stating, quote, "They collectively assessed and determined that Emily could be placed with Sacred Journey, which they knew to be a non-secure voluntary residential home, Oasis Behavioral Health, who discharged Emily into Sacred Journey's care, even though they allegedly knew it was not a lockdown facility. And of course, Emily's unknown killer. Sacred Journey insists their own actions were appropriate and that any damages should fall on third parties or entities outside their control. They are demanding a jury trial. Next are the updates in the case of Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia Decker, whose bodies were found after their father Travis failed to return them following a scheduled visitation, prompting an extensive search. there have been several important developments, some that offer hope and others that raise even more questions. Let's start with where the search for Travis currently stands. Authorities say they believe they're getting closer to locating Travis Decker. A group of hikers in the Enchantments area of Blewett Pass in Kittitas County reported seeing a man hiking alone. They said he seemed unprepared for the trail and was deliberately avoiding contact with others. Based on that tip, a coordinated multi-agency search has been underway, involving the Chelan and Kittitas County Sheriff's Offices, the U.S. Marshals Service, and Washington Army National Guard. As of now, Travis has not been located, but law enforcement is actively searching on the ground and in the air. The U.S. Marshal Service has now taken the lead in the manhunt. They've announced a $20,000 reward for information leading to Travis Decker's arrest. Recognizing that Travis may have changed his appearance, authorities released a new flyer with 3 composite mock-up images showing what he might look like now. They're urging the public to stay alert, especially in remote or rural areas, and to report any sightings immediately. It's reported that there was a video circulating on TikTok showing Travis being captured after a standoff with police. The Chelan County Sheriff's Office has officially confirmed that this report is false. Travis has not been apprehended. Newly released audio from custody hearings in September 2024 has shed more light on Travis's situation. According to the recordings, Travis was actively seeking more visitation time with his daughters. He also stated that they were safe with him.
Every time I've had the girls, we have been in campsites in national forests and paid campsites that have campers. We've never done anything that was unsafe or anything I wouldn't want to put myself in. I only get to see them over the weekends, and camping is something that the 4 of us have done since the 3 of them were in diapers. I've never done anything I feel like that puts them in any sort of a risk.
However, the judge expressed serious concerns about Travis's unstable housing situation, which was a key reason that he was denied overnight visitation.
When I look at the best interest of the children is stability, and that's not stable. It's not stable having them in different places every time you have them. That's not stable, and that's always a concern for the court.
Following the tragedy, Washington state lawmakers, child safety advocates, and members of the community are calling for immediate reform. Representative Amy Whalen has emphasized the need to review the Amber Alert system and expand criteria, improve agency coordination, and incorporate family violence risk assessments into custody decisions. In her words, quote, "If a system cannot protect children, it's not a system worth defending." A public memorial service for Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia is scheduled for June 20th in Wenatchee. Community members are invited to attend and are asked to wear something that makes them feel beautiful. The family has suggested wearing pink, purple, and green, colors the girls loved. Authorities have also expressed their concern that some people may feel bad for Travis given his previous mental health issues and may try to either help him or not report him if they see him. While understanding his mental health issues may help us understand the broader context of what happened and can help us advocate for more help for veterans, that doesn't mean he shouldn't be apprehended or face the consequences of his actions. 3 beautiful little girls are gone because of his actions, his choices. My heart is with Whitney Decker and everyone impacted by this unimaginable loss. Let's start with new details from the investigation. Investigators have now released forensic findings that confirm what many already suspected. Travis Decker, the girl's father, is the sole suspect in the murders of 9-year-old Peyton, 8-year-old Evelyn, and 5-year-old Olivia Decker. Only his DNA and the girl's DNA were found at the crime scene where the girls' bodies were discovered. The autopsy showed that the girls were killed by suffocation. Plastic bags had been tied over their heads, and their wrists were bound behind them with zip ties. 2 of the girls had 2 bags over their heads, while the third had 3 bags. Travis's DNA was found on all of the bags and restraints, removing any possible doubt about his role in what happened to the girls. He had already been named the prime suspect early on in the case, but these findings officially confirm his involvement in their deaths. Travis has been on the run since May 30th, when he failed to return the girls to their mother after a scheduled visit. He is now charged with 3 counts of kidnapping, 3 counts of murder, and unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. Law enforcement has received multiple tips and reported sightings, but none have led to his capture. Authorities say they don't know whether Travis is still alive, hiding in the wilderness of Washington state, or if he may have died out there. According to Chelan County Sheriff Mike Morrison, quote, "We recognize that there is a potential that he could still be out in the woods, but we think most likely if that were the case, he'd probably be deceased. Still, the search remains active." Sheriff Morrison said his department is working with federal partners to explore new strategies, and that he still believes that Travis could be in Washington state, saying, quote, "He could be international at this point. He could be national. He could be here locally. We haven't given up. Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia are still very much in our minds." In the wake of her daughter's deaths, their mother, Whitney Decker, is working to change how missing child alerts are handled. A Change.org petition has been launched for Whitney's Law, which would expand Amber Alert criteria to include more high-risk parental abduction cases, particularly when there is a history of red flags. When Travis failed to return the girls home, Whitney immediately reported it to authorities, but an Amber Alert was never issued. Instead, police sent out a missing persons advisory, which is a lesser alert that doesn't trigger automatic phone notifications to the public. The petition explains, quote, "Right now, the Amber Alert criteria exclude too many high-risk situations, especially involving non-stranger parental abductions. We must not let another parent feel Whitney's unimaginable pain. The system failed her family, and it can fail others too if we don't act." I have a link to the petition in the description if you'd like to learn more. We now have confirmation from the U.S. Marshal Service that Travis Decker is dead, bringing an end to the manhunt that has lasted over 3 months. Last week, the U.S. Marshals and the Chelan County Sheriff's Office expanded their search in the Leavenworth Wilderness, focusing on the area around Rock Island Campground. This marked a renewed push in the investigation. As part of the search, dive teams from the Spokane County Sheriff's Office explored Icicle Creek, located near the original crime scene. During the operation, divers discovered a key fob, one that investigators said was consistent with the type used for Travis's truck. Then, on the afternoon of Thursday, September 18th, a drone flying over the area spotted something unusual. That something would turn out to be a green t-shirt, one that matched what Travis was last seen wearing on surveillance video. Investigators also recovered U.S. Ranger shorts that Travis was known to wear, as well as chewing tobacco and a bracelet, which were items said to be consistent with what Travis was believed to have had with him. As searchers closed in on the site, they discovered human remains, badly decomposed but matching Decker's description. According to Sheriff Morrison, the location of the remains was just under 3/4 of a mile from where the girls' bodies were found, but in extremely rugged, remote terrain. He said, quote, "It would take about 3 hours to get to the location where we found the remains. It was in the middle of our wilderness area in a very steep, rocky, wooded terrain, heavily brushed." Several bones have been sent to the Washington State Crime Lab for DNA testing. While those results are still pending, the U.S. Marshal Service confirmed that they believe the remains are of Travis Decker. As of now, the cause of death has not been released, but authorities have stated that there was no firearm found near the remains. In response to the news, Ariana Cozart, the attorney for Whitney Decker, shared this statement, quote, "We are praying that the remains found are confirmed to be Travis's. We continue to be grateful for law enforcement's efforts in this case and are forever appreciative of the entire world's love, compassion, and support for Whitney. I hope Whitney, her family, and everyone who has followed this case can finally breathe a little more freely, knowing that Travis is no longer out there. But I want to also gently remind us all that this case was never just about a manhunt. It's about 3 innocent little girls and the long, painful journey their mother now faces." At the girls' memorial in June, Whitney said, quote, "I'm so thankful for the time that I had with the girls. I truly hope that the legacy of the girls' lives lives on in everyone's heart forever. They were incredible." Next is the update in the case of siblings Lily and Jack Sullivan, who were 6 and 4 years old when they went missing on May 2nd, 2025, from Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia. RCMP haven't publicly announced any significant details in the case. The kids' paternal grandmother, Belinda Gray, has recently spoken out, calling for more transparency about the family's interactions with Child Protective Services before the children disappeared. She's specifically raising questions about a visit to the children's home that was prompted by concerns from their school. Belinda told the media, quote, "I'd like to know what the school has stated. Was it just some bruises they saw on Jack? Are there other things? Is there anything concerning Lily? I think the public has a right to know." She also voiced frustration over the lack of publicly shared details from the agency's investigation, saying, quote, "Just what did CPS do? What part were they investigating? What were their concerns and what were they doing? They might even have answers for the investigation on what happened to them or why it might have happened to them." According to the Globe and Mail, 2 photos appeared to show Jack with a black eye. Their stepfather, Daniel, reportedly said on social media that the injuries were caused by Lily. While some information about the family's history has come to light, most details remain sealed due to privacy laws, and the findings of the Child Protection Agency's investigation have not been released. However, there have been some new court documents that have just been released, which helps to shed more light on the investigation so far. According to these records, at least 4 polygraph exams have been conducted. The children's mother, Malaya, their stepfather, Daniel, and their biological father, Cody, were all tested, and all of them reportedly showed indications of being truthful in their responses. In fact, Malaya and Daniel each took the test multiple times, and the results were consistent every time. The children's step-grandmother, who lives nearby, was also considered for a polygraph, but investigators ultimately didn't move forward with hers due to health-related reasons. They said her physiology wasn't suitable for analysis. The documents also confirmed that on May 2nd, the day Lily and Jack went missing, 3 family members discovered a pink blanket about 1 kilometer or 0.6 miles from the home. The family later identified it as belonging to Lily. Then, 2 days later, another piece of that same blanket was found inside a trash bag at the end of the family's driveway. No further details have been released about it. Forensic testing was done on the blanket, although the results of that testing haven't been made public. Police also searched the area where the first piece of blanket was found with a scent tracking dog, but they were unable to track Lily and Jack. In addition to the blanket discovery, police have examined phone and bank records, reviewed highway surveillance footage, and analyzed boot prints found in the surrounding woods. The documents also reveal a potential eyewitness account. A woman reported seeing 2 children, described as a girl with dark hair and pigtails and a tank top with blue straps, and a boy with dirty blonde hair in shorts, walking hand in hand near the Sullivan home on May 2nd. She said they appeared to be around 9 and 5 years old. While that's slightly older than Lily and Jack's actual ages, the description is close. She also said she saw the kids walking toward an older Caucasian woman with, quote, loose curls, waiting next to an open car door on a tan or gold sedan. The sighting hasn't been confirmed. Lastly, the documents include a quote from an unnamed investigator who said, quote, "At this point in the investigation, Jack and Lily's disappearance is not believed to be criminal in nature." They added that the polygraphs were done to help rule out that possibility, not because there was direct evidence of a crime. Still, as of now, quote, "None of the tips received so far have led to Jack and Lily's location or provided information that could be corroborated." In the meantime, members of the community continue searching for answers. One local resident has even begun creating yard signs for the community to help keep Lily and Jack's story in the public eye. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Northeast Nova RCMP Major Crime Unit at 902-896-5060. Tips can also be submitted anonymously through Nova Scotia Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS or online at crimestoppers.ns.ca. Next are the 2025 legal developments in the case of Noah Presgrove, whose body was found along a rural highway in Oklahoma in September 2023. On June 23, 2025, Noah Presgrove's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit in Stevens County, Oklahoma. The civil suit names multiple individuals who were present at the Labor Day party where Noah was last seen alive. And for the first time, his family is alleging that Noah was beaten to death. This lawsuit brings forward new claims, and it adds more weight to a case that's haunted his family and supporters for nearly 2 years. The lawsuit was filed by the estate of Noah Nichols, which is Noah's legal last name, and it names several people who attended or hosted the party, along with a local business that allegedly sold alcohol to underage attendees. The defendants include Avery Joe Howard, Carter Combs, Jack Newton, Caleb Newton, Logan Jernigan, Johnny Wilcoxon, Stevie Howard, and a business called Val Petrol LLC, which operates Napoli's convenience store in Marlow, Oklahoma. The lawsuit also lists unidentified individuals under the placeholder name John and Jane Doe's A through Z, indicating the family believes others may also have been involved. According to the petition, Noah was promised alcohol in exchange for attending the party and was allegedly provided copious amounts of alcohol over multiple days, even after he was visibly intoxicated. It claims Jack Newton, who was underage himself, purchased alcohol for Noah from Napoli's. The lawsuit also confirms that Noah was involved in an ATV accident during the party and claims that he was injured in the crash. Later that night, witnesses reportedly saw Noah involved in verbal altercations with at least 2 people, Jack Newton and Avery Howard. The family's legal team alleges that Noah was beaten to death by one or more individuals at the party, and that the group, knowingly or unknowingly, contributed to his death through underage drinking, reckless behavior, and a lack of supervision. They accuse the party hosts and property owners of engaging in a civil conspiracy, not just to provide alcohol to minors, but to cover up what happened. They also claim that the property owners failed to prevent illegal or dangerous activity on their land, making them liable. The lawsuit is asking for more than $75,000 in damages and also seeks punitive damages. These would be awarded if the court finds the defendants acted maliciously or in reckless disregard of Noah's safety and rights. The family is also seeking compensation for Noah's medical and burial expenses, his pain and suffering before death, and the loss of companionship and support felt by those he left behind. This lawsuit doesn't automatically lead to criminal charges. It's a civil case, not a criminal one. But it's a major step forward in the family's public push for answers. And it marks the first time that anyone has been formally accused of causing Noah's death. Let's hope this lawsuit helps bring justice for Noah. On August 26, 2025, Jack Newton, Noah Presgrove's longtime friend, and Jack's father, Caleb Newton, officially responded to the wrongful death lawsuit filed against them and others earlier this summer. The lawsuit, brought by Noah's family, claims that Noah was beaten to death and that alcohol was unlawfully provided to him at the party where he was last seen alive. The Newtons have officially denied the allegations made against them in the lawsuit and claim they were not responsible for Noah's death, stating instead that Noah's actions were to blame. Their legal filing argues that the accident was an unavoidable accident, casualty, and misfortune which occurred without negligence on the part of the defendants. Decedent, with full knowledge of the risks inherent in consuming excessive quantities of alcohol, including the risk of injury or death, voluntarily chose to participate, and therefore decedent knowingly and voluntarily assumed the risk. Decedent was negligent, and his negligence proximately caused or contributed to his accident and damages. Defendants exercised ordinary care to prevent injury to themselves and others, and had a right to assume decedent would obey the law. Defendants owed no duty of care to the decedent. Defendants specifically and generally deny that they were negligent in any way causing the subject accident. They also formally requested a jury trial, rather than having the case decided by a judge, and claim that the lawsuit fails to state a valid legal claim under Oklahoma law. Also, just as I was finishing this episode, another update came in. On August 29th, Carter Combs filed her official response to the lawsuit. Her answer denies the claims against her, stating that she didn't have enough information to confirm or deny many of the allegations and that she wasn't responsible for what happened to Noah. Her legal team raises the following defenses, including plaintiff assumed the risks underlying the cause of his injuries and death. Plaintiff's own contributory negligence caused his injuries and death. Plaintiff was an aggressor, and any injury from a physical altercation was the result of self-defense or mutual combat. Plaintiff's injuries and death were the result of superseding intervening causation. Plaintiff's injuries and death were the result of voluntary intoxication. They also argue that the lawsuit doesn't present a strong enough legal claim to move forward, and they're asking the court to dismiss it. One detail I didn't include in my original coverage, and that many viewers may not have come across, is a 2024 police interview with another teen who was at the party, Caden Pressey. The interview was leaked to the Daily Mail by Caden himself, and because the outlet isn't always known for its reliability, I was cautious about relying on it. But now that it's resurfacing in recent coverage, I want to walk through what was said. It's a 10-minute clip from what's reportedly a 2-hour interview, and while this hasn't been publicly verified by investigators, it offers another perspective on what happened that morning. Caden told detectives that he was asleep at the party house, and around 5:15 a.m. on September 4th, 2023, about 35 minutes before Noah's body was found, Jack Newton, quote, burst through the door saying, "Noah is dead. Noah is dead, guys." He described Jack as frantic and tearing up. He went on to say that he, Jack, and others were at the scene where Noah's body was found, as well as a semi-truck. Caden described Noah's body as being, quote, contorted, laying on his side with one arm behind his back. He added that Noah was not naked, as he was reported to have been when he was found, but that he was wearing the black shorts he'd been wearing earlier at the party. He said they were eventually told to leave, though he didn't remember by whom, and that Jack had stayed behind. He also said that when they returned to the house where the girls had stayed, everyone went back to sleep, quote, like nothing just happened. Caden also shared that he believed Noah had a sexual relationship with Avery and that he had seen Noah be flirty while drunk in the past. Again, while this is coming from a tabloid source and should be viewed cautiously, it's a significant account that helps fill in some of the timeline and gaps. And if accurate, it raises serious questions about what Jack knew and when. Outside of the filings, Caleb Newton told People magazine, quote, I can't believe that we're 2 years deep into this, and I've been asked 1,000 times what I think happened. I just say, I don't know, I wasn't there. I'm waiting on the investigators to figure it out. I just hate all of this. We're being accused of the most ridiculous thing in the world. Austin Vance, an attorney for Noah's family, said, quote, the adults there and the kids shouldn't have allowed it to get to any position where Noah was ever going to be at risk of dying. I don't think anyone expects their 19-year-old to ever go to a party and die. Dalen Presgrove, Noah's older brother, added, quote, the way I've looked at it is that this is kind of the final point. We've exhausted every avenue. We've done everything that we can. This is really the last big Hail Mary to seek retribution, to seek that truth, so that we can put everything to bed. In July, Noah's family filed a motion for leave, asking the court for permission to subpoena the Oklahoma Highway Patrol to turn over their full investigation file. Back in 2024, the OHP publicly stated they were no longer investigating Noah's death as a murder. But Noah's family believes the agency still has materials, including reports, interviews, and forensic evidence that could help shed light on what happened. The subpoena asked the OHP to hand over all autopsy and medical reports, crime scene photos, video, and lab results, witness interviews and statements, internal communications between OHP investigators, and GPS, location, or geofencing data tied to Noah's case. This is part of civil discovery, which is the process where both sides collect and request evidence. It seems like Noah's family is using the civil court system not only to seek accountability, but also to access evidence that's been out of reach through traditional investigative channels. As of now, the petroleum company Valpetrol, which is one of the other parties named in the lawsuit, has responded and denies all allegations. Next is the 2025 autopsy report development in the case of Thomas Brown, who disappeared on Thanksgiving in 2016 and whose remains were later found in early 2019 with no conclusive cause of death. On October 9, 2025, Klein Investigations and Consulting, the team hired by Thomas Brown's mother to investigate his death, released a public statement and the full autopsy report from the second autopsy that was done earlier this year. According to Klein Investigations, the report was supposed to remain sealed. However, a redacted version was leaked online, which they say distorted the findings. In response, they decided to release the unredacted version, and there are some significant developments inside. In April 2025, the Texas Tech University Forensic Anthropology Laboratory re-examined Thomas's remains. They reviewed his skull, jawbone, several arm and leg bones, and 28 of his 32 teeth. The missing teeth included his 2 front teeth and 1 beside them. The report noted some sun bleaching and soil staining consistent with long exposure outdoors and evidence of animal activity on the bones. According to the findings, fractures in Thomas's upper jaw and the left side of his skull were consistent with blunt force trauma that happened around the time of death. The examiner stated that early postmortem damage couldn't be ruled out entirely, but the injuries appeared to have occurred while the bone was still fresh, meaning close to the time Thomas died. Here's the key part of the report's summary. Quote, "It is my professional opinion that skeletal alterations in the cranium are consistent with a minimum of 2 applications of blunt force. One directed to the maxilla in the region of teeth number 8 through number 10, and another to the left zygomatic arch. No evidence of radiodense material consistent with projectile trauma was observed in the radiographs of the submitted cranium and mandible." In simpler terms, that means that Thomas suffered at least 2 blunt force impacts to the head, one to the front of his upper jaw and the other to the left cheekbone temporal area. The report also noted that since not all of Thomas's remains were recovered, additional trauma could have been missed. Animal scavenging may have also covered up other injuries. After the report was leaked, Klein Investigations released a public statement on their Facebook page. It read, in part, "You will note that the injuries to Thomas were a catastrophic injury pre-mortem to his head, which leads to the conclusion of homicide, not self-inflicted. Our conclusion was, and continues to be a homicide, as Tom literally received 2 catastrophic hits to his head, which caused his death. We believe his death certificate should reflect this." They also criticized the leak of the redacted report and called for an apology to Thomas's family. However, it's important to note that while their interpretation points strongly to homicide, the report itself does not determine a cause or manner of death. That remains the view of Klein Investigations, not an official ruling from law enforcement. As of now, Thomas Brown's case remains officially unsolved. This new analysis may strengthen the argument for homicide, but it still leaves major questions unanswered, including who was responsible and what truly happened that night. Next are the 2025 updates in the case of Christopher Scholtes, the Arizona father charged in the death of his 2-year-old daughter Parker after she was left in a vehicle on an extremely hot summer day. Christopher Scholtes is facing charges of first-degree murder in the death of his 2-year-old daughter Parker. Earlier this year, prosecutors offered him a plea deal for second-degree murder, which would carry a maximum sentence of 25 years in prison, but he turned it down. Now, his attorney is requesting a new deal, saying they're developing new evidence that could justify a lighter punishment. The judge has scheduled a hearing for September 19th to discuss the matter. Prosecutors, however, aren't budging. One of them reportedly said, quote, "He had an opportunity with the plea from the panel that was open for a while. The negotiations were open. He rejected it. I really don't see how it will change any circumstances." Chris Scholtes is currently scheduled to go to trial in October. However, that date could get pushed back. His defense team has indicated that they plan to file a motion to continue, which, if granted, would delay the start of the trial. The first-degree murder trial of Christopher Scholtes, the Arizona father accused in the death of his 2-year-old daughter Parker, will continue as scheduled, at least for now. Recently, the Scholtes defense team filed a motion to delay the start of the trial, citing the unavailability of 2 potential witnesses, including a psychologist. But the judge denied that request. And for now, the trial is set to begin October 27th. In another surprising development, the defense has said that Christopher may take the stand in his own defense. That's a risky move. Most defendants don't testify because it opens them up to intense cross-examination from the prosecution. His attorney, Mark Adair, also stated that they are gathering more information about other hot car deaths, suggesting that only one other case has resulted in a first-degree murder charge for a parent. He didn't clarify whether the circumstances in that case were similar to this one. He also stated that he is still hoping for a plea deal with the prosecution. Earlier this year, prosecutors offered a plea deal to Scholtes for second-degree murder, which would carry a maximum sentence of 25 years in prison, but he turned it down. According to Adair, quote, "In Chris's case, there was not sufficient time to fully grieve the loss of his daughter, and then process the idea that he had to sign a deal that would require him to go spend the next 10 to 25 years in prison." The defense is now pushing for a psychiatric evaluation for Christopher, citing family concerns that he may have memory problems. The psychiatrist they want to use is reportedly an expert in cases of guilty except insane, a legal defense in Arizona that could result in him being committed to a psychiatric facility rather than serving prison time. Adair also revealed that Christopher's wife, Erica, does not want him to stand trial. He stated, quote, "Erica Scholtes is not pushing for the state to prosecute her husband. This family is dealing with the emotional toll and is now going to have to gear up for a trial in this case. And I don't know why the state has had to criminally subpoena Erica and the 2 children in this case. I don't think she's being very cooperative with the prosecution." In Arizona, spouses can sometimes be forced to testify against each other in court, especially in cases involving harm to a child, which appears to be the case here. Unless there are any additional delays, trial is set to begin on October 27th. The first-degree murder trial of Christopher Scholtes, the Arizona father accused in the death of his 2-year-old daughter Parker, will not be moving forward as scheduled. A plea deal has been reached. On Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025, Christopher Scholtes pleaded guilty to an amended count of second-degree murder and 1 count of child abuse for Parker's death. Earlier this year, he rejected a previous plea deal. Since then, his legal team had continued trying to negotiate, but prosecutors seemed firm in moving forward with trial. At one point, the prosecution said, quote, "He had an opportunity, with the plea from the panel that was open for a while. The negotiations were open. He rejected it. I really don't see how it will change any circumstances." But something changed behind the scenes. This week, a new plea deal was offered and accepted. The Pima County Attorney's Office issued a formal statement saying, quote, "Today, Christopher Scholtes accepted a plea agreement and pled guilty to 1 count of second-degree murder and 1 count of intentional/knowing child under circumstance likely to cause death or serious physical injury. Under the terms of the plea, the sentences imposed by the judge are going to run consecutively, and Scholtes will face a sentencing range of 20 to 30 years of flat time, meaning he's not eligible for early release. He must serve the full sentence imposed by the court in the Department of Corrections for murdering P.S. on July 9th, 2024. This is yet another reminder to the community that the Pima County Attorney's Office will do everything we can to get justice for victims, especially those who are most vulnerable. I wanted to share a difficult update in the Christopher and Parker Scholtes case. This morning, Wednesday, November 5th, 2025, authorities confirmed that Christopher Scholtes was found deceased at a home in Phoenix, Arizona. His death is being investigated as self-inflicted. At this time, no further details have been released. Christopher was scheduled to appear in court today for a hearing and to turn himself in to begin serving his 20 to 30-year prison sentence. He had pleaded guilty last month to second-degree murder in connection with the 2024 death of his 2-year-old daughter, Parker. Last month, he accepted a plea deal for second-degree murder, with sentencing scheduled for later this month. Just 1 day before his death, on November 4th, court records show that Christopher's oldest daughter, now 17, filed a lawsuit in Maricopa County against Christopher and his wife, Erica Scholtes. The lawsuit alleges emotional distress, assault, battery, and fraud, and includes prior claims that she, too, was left inside hot cars as a child, something I discussed in more detail in my first episode on the Scholtes case. Because this lawsuit is still developing and involves surviving family members, I'll wait for additional filings before discussing it in more detail. I know many people were hoping this case would finally bring accountability through the sentencing process. For those who have followed Parker's story from the beginning, this news feels heavy and complicated. While his death means there won't be a formal sentencing, Parker's story and the awareness her case brought about the dangers of leaving children in hot cars remain incredibly important. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out. In the US, you can call or text 988 to reach the Crisis Lifeline 24/7. You're not alone. Until next time, remember, their voice matters, and it's up to all of us to keep it alive. I'll see you in the next episode.